All week long, we've got you covered on 27 News at 4 with live analysis of what's happened at the DNC and what you can expect for the rest of the convention.
Once again, we are joined by Professor Howard Schweber, a political science expert from UW-Madison. Thank you so much for being here again.
Well, my pleasure.
So let's start with the Obama speeches last night. They've been big figures in the Democratic Party and in American politics for years. Do you think their speeches will be effective at motivating Democrats or winning over undecided voters?
Well, certainly in motivating Democrats. So part of the theme of this convention has to ensure that Harris is not presented as any kind of outsider or as someone who is plucked out of obscurity or anything like that, but rather is the standard bearer for the party. Very much the opposite of Trump's outsider status with respect to the traditional GOP. And the Obama's presence is the strongest possible message of that. And of course, it's lost on no one that Barack Obama was our first black president, and that his endorsement cements, if it needed cementing, the historic nature of the prospect of Harris's candidacy. Whether it will reach undecided voters is less clear. Certainly the Obamas are popular figures, not only among undecided, even many Republicans like them. They're tremendously popular and influential figures. But I keep coming back to the number from the polls that say that 30% of Americans are not yet sure what Kamala Harris stands for. And while the Obamas did a brilliant job of going on the attack against Donald Trump, a role Barack in particular was not comfortable taking on in earlier election cycles, and a wonderful job of calling Democrats to tasks, right? Saying, don't get overconfident, there's much work to be done, let's buckle down and do it. There wasn't a great deal there to refine the understanding of Kamala Harris and what she's about for people who don't already have an opinion. That task, I think, remains on her, and this evening on Tim Walz.
And again, tonight we will hear from vice presidential candidate Tim Walz. So many people didn't know who he was until Vice President Harris picked him 2 weeks ago. So what's his goal going to be tonight?
So let me answer that by first pointing out there's a certain irony in having Bill Clinton speaking, because one of the things Tim Walz's presence signals, and Harris signals, and for that matter, in some ways the Biden administration signaled, was the Democratic Party finally getting away from the shadow of Clinton. Bill Clinton presided over a strong turn to the right in the Democratic Party in terms of social welfare legislation, neoliberal economic policy, deregulation. The Harris campaign is presenting itself as returning to the classic Democratic themes of being for working people and middle-class families and those who are left out of, the high-tech economic booms and global trade. It's also a campaign, and Tim Walz is a particularly strong spokesman here for a kind of decency, family values. All of these make Bill Clinton a very uncomfortable fit this evening. But Walz will try and fill in that missing definition I was talking about. And I think he'll try and do it in all the ways that I just mentioned, and to put a personal face on it. Doug Emhoff did a nice job, in many viewers' opinions, I think, of humanizing Harris and himself and showing their personal side. Walz can do the same for himself and make the connection between who he is and what he's about and the mission of a future Harris administration.
In the final seconds we have left, Professor Schweber, one of the goals of a convention is to build momentum heading into the general election. Have Democrats been successful so far?
It's hard to know. Kamala Harris had such big bumps from the days before the convention. So traditionally it's about a 4-point bump. She may already have gotten that boost. There may not be a significant change. We won't know for sure. I'll make one quick final point, which is that tonight and tomorrow are going to be in part about motivating young voters, young Democratic voters, to turn out. Their preferences are strongly pro-Harris. It's going to be the Gen Z turnout rate that is the critical factor in a number of battleground states.
Like you said, an important focus tonight, and we'll have a story about that coming up on 27 News at 5. Thank you so much, Professor Schweber. We appreciate it.
Thank you.